Hello and welcome to the Etch Play Weekly Live Show. I am Dan. I'm in control this week. I'm a little bit intimidated because for the first time in a while we have a guest on the show, and that guest is a proper bona fide content creator, community manager extraordinaire. Let me welcome Josh Brown from FuturLab, Senior Community Manager at FuturLab. Josh, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure. Obviously met you before, Dan, and you're an awesome guy, so happy to be here.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. So, yeah, Josh, Senior Community Manager at FuturLab, and I'd like to try and give a little bit of an intro to our guests, but I thought from the conversations we've had, you've had a pretty interesting journey to this point. So I thought my first question would just be, what was it that inspired your interest in community, and what has that journey been like up to this point?
Yeah, so it's been a bit of an odd journey, but I think I've always been interested in internet culture and been a part of that since when I was very young. But at university as well, I studied culture, like social studies sort of things, and all of my essays were about the sort of psychology of the internet and like communities that were forming on there earlier in 2010. But I basically didn't really know what to do after uni, and I was working for a charity, but part-time doing YouTube stuff. And then that just suddenly took off. I lived the high life as a content creator, mainly covering one game when I was sort of doing it full-time, which was Paladins by Harris Studios. And that sort of was my segue into the community management and into the games industry as I joined Team 17 as a community manager a few years ago. And then from that, jumped over to FuturLab as community manager on PowerWash Simulator. But I think, in honesty, it's interesting because I think a lot of content creators could always think about the jump because there's a lot of skills that transfer across, especially ones that are covering maybe a game. They're already potentially acting almost like a community manager might act with their own communities, and often covering the games as if they're a face or like an advocate of the game anyway. But it seemed like a good move across.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a really good fit because obviously a lot of community management is engaging with content creators, so brings you a good, from a good position of empathy to what that's like and how to get the best out of people and things like that. Very interesting. So, yeah, you're now at FuturLab, who I know are a long-established studio. It's something like 18 years they've been going.
Yeah, I think the birthday's not coming up, but it was 18 years. Last year, I think.
Right.
I could have got this wrong, but it's the 18 years that has passed, and yeah, we're definitely 18 and a bit.
Yeah, and so obviously that's in video game years are kind of like dog years. That's like ages. Yeah. So that's really impressive, and there's a lot of quality, amazing titles in their portfolio. But PowerWash feels like the kind of a landmark. We joke around. It's kind of like the overnight success of FuturLab is PowerWash, and this 18-year overnight success. How have you found? Obviously, you've been there over a year or so.
Yes.
And so that's
2 years almost. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. So sort of been along for the whole of that journey. So how have you found that journey from early access reveal to launch, and what perhaps some of the key moments in your opinion for this success of PowerWash Simulator?
Yeah. So interesting. I joined when PowerWash Simulator was still unannounced to the early access, but at a point where I guess I came into a bit of a blank slate almost. And it was interesting just at the start trying to lay community foundations that, like from our point of view, like I didn't know how big the game was going to be at that point. It was just like we need to get things going, like weekly devlogs, getting developers in the limelight and making sure there's a connection with the community that wasn't really there yet. But it was plodding that along, setting up all of the frameworks in the background. And then I think there were some landmark moments where some of our social media's posts, they just resonated and blew up. And often that was content creators sharing the posts. And those are where we'd go semi-viral. I wouldn't say viral, but the semi-viral, the ideas are spreading and through a lot of experimentation of what's sort of working, what's going viral here, got sort of a map of like what people liked and what sort of content worked and really caught people's attention. And I think Rebecca as well is a big part of setting the tone and setting this sort of line of relaxation and de-stressing, and that really, I think, hit a chord with people just looking for something that wasn't the traditional action-packed game, I guess, and it sort of goes along the lines of wholesome games too. But for me as a community manager, it's been a pleasure from the first early access. It did slowly gain some momentum and really blew up in June, because it launched in May and did get quite a following, but then in June it really blew up, and we had a very engaged community that pretty much anything we put out for feedback, anything, any poll or anything, we get thousands of responses. And when you get that sort of thing, it makes it very easy for us to know what the community is thinking and what people like and dislike about the game. And I think from my point of view, I couldn't have had a more perfect sort of set of data to pass on to the developers then. And in the same way, it made people very interested in what the developers were doing. And when we made changes that I could literally link to the community said this and the community liked this, and this. It didn't really change. I mean, it wouldn't have changed the design. The design team obviously had their ideas of what the game was going to be, and I think they knew the core principles and stuck to them. But it I guess let us know some bits that we weren't so sure about, like the competitive nature and stuff like that, which ended up not being like part of the core vision, and maybe something extra in the future. We don't know, but it really gave us a focus. And I think, you know, there were some key moments along on the way to launch, but launch was also massive for us, and we got so much support from third parties, and there's so many content creators playing it, and we hit. I think again, like a lot of press picked it up, and it was, I think, a pleasure at launch for that to happen.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like an amazing adventure, and it's really interesting. You kind of, you're hitting on all of the I guess the key pillars of both community and marketing. So you were testing and learning and iterating from those learnings, and listening to your audience, sort of authentically as well. So being a part of it and listening to them. Yeah, that's really impressive.
I think it is really important, the authenticity, because obviously we're out there trying to get information, but at the end of the day, you've got to make it fun, you've got to make it interesting, and I've genuinely had fun along the way, trying to make gathering the data fun, or like getting ideas. We ran a community map vote a long time ago, and it turned into like a tournament knockout style vote. And I didn't expect this many people to take part, but there were the thousands of people taking part in these votes and getting really attached to certain level ideas, and they got locked out. But things like that were genuinely fun for me, and I think when something's fun for you, it's going to be fun for the community as well. So that always sort of, I inject that as much as I can into my stuff.
I think that's really smart. And you mentioned about things like the competitiveness and testing that with the community. And we talked, I think it might have been last week, we talked on the show about how we were talking about resurrecting perhaps games that didn't have the best start, and actually marketing, communications, community a really effective way of testing things. Because how expensive would it have been if they'd have gone, competitiveness might be desirable, let's build that in and then see, versus, well, let's just do some fun experiments with the community and learn, and actually, maybe that isn't the way we want to go.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's early access gives you that wiggle room of, you start with a product. I think though in PowerWash's case, the core game has stayed very true to the initial blueprints, although it was more like the trimmings, I guess, that were slightly changed or shaved or shaped along the way. But yeah, I think it's definitely harder for a game that's released to then go back and make those changes if they've completely had a bad impact, I guess, or like it's not, the launch hasn't gone well. But if it's gone kind of okay, or like maybe, like you say, you're in early access and the first launch doesn't go well, then you can react to that community feedback. But I think we were in a particularly good position that there was so much interest to begin with.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, it's been a huge success, and FuturLab are now on this kind of this growth journey. From your perspective and the roles that you've had, one of the conversations we have are the I guess, and you get it in all business, from a tiny indie where there's maybe nobody doing marketing to, we've got a marketing person who then's got to do everything, and then community fits within that kind of marketing comms team, and then you've got community management, social media management, and all these different kind of roles and responsibilities that get split at varying levels of abstraction. So what do you think from a community management perspective are some of the biggest challenges that community management as a discipline is faced with today? And have you got any thoughts on how people might tackle those?
I think, just on the first thing in terms of like how the business scales with community management, especially as like a role, I think it's interesting because the community management was always seen as almost a switchblade, and I feel it's almost like a new discipline within the industry and isn't necessarily well defined. Sometimes I see a lot of job ads that will merge what a community manager is. It's not always obvious what a community manager does in particular, but usually it follows a pattern of like at a smaller company that the community manager could be doing pretty much everything, touching on every discipline. But the big ones are like influencer management, which sort of crosses across to PR. They'll be doing social media management. Community management, in my opinion, is very much engaging with the community, like fostering a path for community advocates, and communications in terms of like the communications directly to the community. And that's its own thing, in my opinion. It's like a discipline. Not it's not a bad thing that smaller indies will have people doing all of the things. But then also it could dip into customer support as well, potentially in some roles. But it does really vary, where a big company, a community manager might just be working on one channel, on one social media platform, or like on Discord or something. So it's interesting when somebody's trying to look at the jobs spectrum of like what is a community manager. If somebody's trying to break into the industry, it could be a bit confusing. But so I think when you go in, you should think about how big a company is, what you want to do, whether you want to do a bit of everything or whether you just want to focus on community management. But on the second question, sorry, just to move on as well. One of the challenges I think that's been brought up recently with I think Destiny 2's community managers were targeted by some quite nasty hazing, swatting sort of thing, where people were ordering pizzas to their house, and that's quite an extreme example. I don't know if you saw that news.
I saw the headlines. Yeah,
just awful. Like that's such an extreme, but to an everyday level, I think community managers sort of the shield to develop the development team, stopping the developers from seeing hate or some of the nastier elements of communities, which again are the vastly in the minority, but are just an inevitability of being on the internet and being so public. But I think the problem with the community managers is that your name is very much on the tin, and you have to be human to be able to build these communities, and you have to be present. I think from my perspective, like being a YouTuber beforehand, I think it helped me because all of those small parts of hate were very much directed at me as a brand rather than a company as a brand. And I guess from my unique perspective, I find it a lot easier that the game is its own thing, and I really care about making sure that the developers don't see any of the hate, or that the hate doesn't spread within the communities that we've built, and that the community members don't see that toxicity themselves. And sometimes that is being quite brutal with bans and things, and making sure that if somebody is being a problem, just getting rid of them out of the community, because ultimately you want safe spaces for people to talk and places that are positive. And that doesn't mean stopping criticism. It just means that if somebody is being personal or aggressive, then you just have to get rid of them. And at the same time, I tend to think about the game as itself, like the game is the game, it's my work. And if somebody's upset about that, it's a product at the end of the day, and being able to separate that, not taking it home. And I think there's probably a lot of community managers out there that have a lot of bad days because there's something happens to them during the day, or like it could just be one person that's just being problematic or being very personal, and it is hard to separate the work from personal life, and especially when you're so involved with the game and you become part of those communities, and you genuinely care about the people that are in them and what they're doing and their initiatives as well. Like it's a tough one, and I think there's definitely extremes where it's interesting that Bungie basically stopped communications in their example for a short period. And I mean, it's hard to say because it doesn't stop it, but it was an interesting move for the company, I think, and probably a positive one overall, for the short period.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it's such an underappreciated part of the role. I think that kind of, you are, yeah, you are the barrier and, like I say, the protector of this and curator to some extent of that community. And if it isn't done intentionally and left to run riot, you will end up with a more toxic community. So you do, like I said, you have to be sort of perhaps a bit brutal with the bans and the trying to, at the end of the day, you're trying to control the internet, which is a challenge in itself. And to your opening point as well, it's a very, very young discipline. Like games as an industry is a very young industry, and community management within that. There is we're rapidly having to figure out what is the protocol here, what tools do we have, what support do we have, what are the rules of engagement in this, and that's a huge topic, and a lot of young people kind of, it's an under misunderstood role, and you've got a lot of grey-haired old men in boardrooms being like, oh, let's get an intern in to manage the socials, and that's a really tough position to put people in.
I think it's interesting as well from a prospective employee point of view as well. A lot of people might think community management is being an influencer, when it's not. Being an influencer is not about you, it's about the game. So I mean, there's different disciplines. Some games do have a bit more of a personality shown through their community managers, and that's fine, that's part of their brand and that works for them. But mostly it's all about making sure that you're protecting the brand or the game and making sure that that's being shown in the best light, and you put yourself back as much as you can, partly to protect yourself, but you only come in to basically do the shielding and to be the messenger that gets the arrows occasionally, especially if you've got to do some crisis management or you're breaking some bad news. It's definitely a tough one.
And I guess that's another consideration with such a new thing, and in a growing space and a growing discipline within growing teams, you kind of have to start thinking about, well, how do I make myself scalable and replaceable? Because if it's too tied to me and my personality, and then I get promoted or I have to go on to a different project, or God forbid something happens to me or I get a new job, like what is going to happen to that brand in those instances?
That's a really good point. And I think it's an interesting one for like the influencer side of things, because the influencer is very much about relationships and forging those. So it is a harder one because that is very much you're out there and you're just making connections. Sorry, I tandem.
No, it's good. We just touched on this. The next question I had was kind of, and it's conversations we've had on the show in the past and in various forums. Like you were kind of saying about the different roles and responsibilities within the realm of community management, and we've talked before about there's quite a clear differentiation between community growth and community engagement. Does that resonate? Do you see it?
How would you put it, just out of curiosity? Like in your mind, how does community growth versus engagement? I think there is a strategic view on finding new audiences, what's their initial engagement with this brand, what is their way into this world, versus, as you were mentioning, like we've got the evangelists and the diehards and the people who've been there from day one, and they've got different expectations, or maybe there's going to be, you want to be thinking about those two audiences in different ways. Perhaps I'm interested in your thoughts on that. I mean, I think always community engagement is going to trump growth at the end of the day, because you want the people, the advocates, and the people that are going to be there as quality community members, creating, inputting, coming up with their own initiatives. And outside of that, people can peer into communities and see that there's a good community there and then want to join it. And I think the growth then happens naturally after that point. And at the same time, you do have to consider the strategies to grow the community and get people onto places like Discord, to follow your accounts, to get onto wherever it is you want to try and get them to. I see, to be honest, at the moment, Discord is like the place to be, where most of community stuff happens currently in the games industry. That could change. I think part of community management is that it's a Wild West. There could be a new tool or something that comes out and it really takes over. But if it's an interesting, I think you have to be very targeted with your growth, because getting people that, say if you did a giveaway to try and get your followers into your Discord or to get onto your Twitter, are any of those people actually going to stick around or contribute to that community, and does it do anything? I think part of it is being very focused on whatever you do, whatever you're trying to grow, is being very focused on your game. Like, it's fun to meme and like have like extra stuff outside of your realm that isn't about your game, but as much as you can, make all of your communications about your game, so that you'll get people, followers, and community growth that is basically relevant, and then they can become engaged community members. I guess that's the way I see the flow.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. You can kind of you can enable growth by showing people having a great wholesome experience, and they're going to attract more like-minded people into that through those who, like, say, kind of peering over the sides, going, "That looks good. I want to be a part of it."
I don't know if you, to be honest, like from my point of view as like a games consumer as well, I always now will just go quickly look at a Discord for a game if I'm about to play it or I'm interested in it. It's like it's just been announced, and I think, you know what, I'm going to have a quick look to see what people are saying about it. I might just jump into the Discord and I go in, I leave, and like, okay, that's interesting. Maybe that's partly because I'm a community manager and I think about the communities, but it'd be interesting whether people do that as well.
Yeah,
you do see a lot of people join and leave.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good sort of temperature check or litmus test. Like, is this a place I feel comfortable in? Or is the tone right? Yeah, absolutely. No, very, very smart. So there's a question. I actually asked this in interviews quite a lot as well. That I thought I would throw, as in like job interviews. I'm a nosy git basically, but I think in any role, it can be very telling to kind of who somebody looks up to and who they aspire to be like. So I was wondering, for you, do you have kind of like heroes or people that you admire within and beyond the realm of community management?
I mean, I'll do the cheesy one first, but I've been incredibly lucky that I've had two amazing managers above me that have both really given me insights and mentorship that are both different. The first, Lauren May at Team 17 as the community lead there, pretty much showed me all the ropes in community and is just an amazing leader. She's awesome. And in the same way, Rebecca Sweetmore at FuturLab has shown me a lot more in the wider marketing space, and seeing her work, I admire what she does, and she's great as well. But in the community space, I think Victoria Tran just really shines, and she is a real beacon of the community space and a champion of it at the moment. If there was anybody out there that took that role, that title, she would probably take it. She has some amazing blogs on her website that pretty much go into every aspect of community. In some ways, I look at them and I think, you know, if I'm going to do talks in the future, how can I not do some of the things that she's talked about, because they're very in depth, and she's given some really good insights into some of her products as well. If people don't know, she's the community lead, I think that's the title, on Among Us. But she has her own website that has loads of really good guides for community managers, and especially for new community managers trying to join the industry. I think there's a really good guide in there about what it is, how to get in, and, you know, really respect her, and do often have a quick look and see if she's got anything else out or any talks.
She is the walking playbook of community management, isn't she? She's definitely a well-cited hero in the industry. Yeah. And that was a nice touch there, adding your current manager, Rebecca, who I spoke to earlier, and she said, "Oh, try and make Josh sweat a bit." So you really flipped that on her. Now she'll feel really bad about being mean to you, and you're just offering all that praise.
It is lucky though, because some people you might not, you don't always get that, and I feel like honestly, I had a very good experience in both my roles in terms of guidance and learning, and in very different ways as well. I think like on a business side, stuff like this talk now, I probably wouldn't have had the confidence or thought to do without Rebecca. So
we're very grateful to you, Rebecca. Thank you for subjecting Josh to this. I appreciate you're busy, so I will wrap up. One last question. So looking, obviously, we've talked about where you've come and where the success that FuturLab is enjoying at the moment. Is there anything in the near future that you're able to share that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, so unfortunately, like all of the big announcements PowerWash Simulator are all things I can't talk about, but at the same time, very excited for those big announcements.
Nice.
But they are big ones, so it's very exciting to be a part of that and know that they're coming. I think like any games announcement, you know something's coming. The community always is asking questions, and you're just like, I know what's coming. It's exciting, but we'll have to see. But like in terms of personal stuff, I think just trying to do stuff like this. I'm currently mentoring as well, so it's just trying to get my brand out there a little bit as well, and in the same way, I guess, that Victoria Trans sort of got some guides and things out there. If there's anything in particular I can give or unique insights, I'd like to do that, and I guess this is a first step as well.
Very cool. Well, then, bonus extra question in that light: if you were somebody watching this, being I really want to get into community management, any one tip that you would offer that person?
I don't think there's necessarily one tip, but the big thing I think is just getting involved with community, however you can do it, whether that's being a Discord moderator, whether that's setting up your own little blog, or working on a game that you're really really inspired by. I know when we hired somebody ages ago for Team 17, they ran their own blog about a particular game, and like it had its own small dedicated community, and that really showed that they understood community management and even the foundations they sort of got. But again, like, you go read Victoria Trans guides as well. So she's got a very good guide to get into the industry too. So, but I think just getting some experience, even if it's just something you're doing yourself, is really important.
Yeah, I think that's just really good advice and it can be applied to many jobs. It's like, just start doing it. You don't need somebody to give you the job and give you the task. Start doing the role that you think you might enjoy. Absolutely. Well, Josh, thank you ever so much. It's gone by very quick, but you've been super insightful. It's been great to have you on the show, and we'll look forward to these big announcements coming from you soon.
Yeah, an absolute pleasure, and look forward to it. Thanks for having me on the show.
No worries. Right, I'm going to flip over to a little bit of what's been going on in Fall Guys gameplay that Adam recorded earlier, and then myself and Tyler will be back with all the latest games industry news in about 10 minutes. So see you in a bit.
Hey, you're watching an Etch Play video, and it's me, Adam. Thanks for tuning in. We are checking out Fall Guys again. Long-time fans of the YouTube channel will know that we've played Fall Guys before, but it's been a while. Fall Guys is on free-to-play, so we thought we'd jump back in and check out some of the new levels. And here's one right now. This is the Speed Circuit. Not actually that new, but it's new to me because I have played it since this game. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. No. No. Okay. I'm starting to remember why I stopped playing, because I'm getting increasingly frustrated immediately. Let's see if we can recover here. Gotta dodge the dodge big eaters, the hammer. Some really bad bouncing. Let's go this way. I don't really know what the best way to go is. Oh, okay. Okay. The best way is probably not that way. Missed the ramp as well. It's two laps. Okay. I've got a little bit of time to potentially go here. 20 people will qualify from this. So let's see if we can be one of them. Oh, not again. No! God damn it. There you go. Missed it. Let's go this way. No. Okay, both ways are hard. That's the lesson there. No matter which way you go, but we have qualified. I was 8th place there, which I'm pretty happy with. to do a little bit of expectation. So yeah, Fall Guys has gone free to play. It's seen a kind of a big increase in player count as a result. You get into games quite easily right now, which is good, especially for a game like this where you want to be in big matches with like dozens of people. It's good to have a thriving community that you can play with. And yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of when this game launched, even though it wasn't free to play at the time, it was free on PlayStation Plus. There was cosmetic purchases, so the shift to free to play hasn't actually been that dramatic in terms of like the impact on the game itself. It's pretty similar. Like the way it plays is still the same. The way the shop works is still similar. So if you played this back in the day, you know what you're getting into. It's just more of the same, more levels, more chaos, more craziness, and more of these annoying spinning bar things that knock me over every time. That's yeah, okay. I see what's happening here. Great. Just yeah. Oh, all right. Cool. No. Right. Okay. That's embarrassing. I'm genuinely furious about that. Like, I know it was my fault, but I'm livid. Well, here's my rewards anyway. I did get some points for trying. I got a participation medal. This is a brand new account, by the way, so this is near the start of like the cosmetics journey. You see the kind of basic items I've got. Right, let's give this another go. Let's see if I can do any better than that, because that was bad. That was embarrassing. Oh, this one's interesting. So this is kind of new, but kind of not. Like the spinning, rolling apparatus was definitely part of the game when I played it last time, but this looks like a race version, like running from one side to the other rather than just trying to stay on for as long as possible. So this is technically new to me, but you can see how it's got a lot of familiar parts. What do you reckon? I think I've got this. I back myself to qualify here. Lined up. Let's go. 39 people will qualify from this, which is quite a lot, so as long as we don't do anything too stupid here, we should be able to... okay, yep. We are falling behind, but don't panic. I'm pretty sure some people here are going to fall off. Yeah. Gives us an opportunity to make up some spaces. Nice and steady. Nothing too risky. Oh. Bit risky. Yeah, look at us. Out of the front of the pack. Nearly. Little strategic dive, and we are qualified. I need to watch everyone else have a go at this one. You see a bunch of them are falling off. I mean, some people, especially on like TikTok, you're like, are these real people? Because some of them just make some pretty badly timed jumps. Maybe it's like a lag thing, but they definitely a lot of people seem to act against their own best interest. Maybe they just think it's funny to fall. Maybe it is. You know, the game is called Fall Guys. Yeah, this guy's fallen. Still only 17 people qualified out of the 39. I could have taken my time. I could have had a nice little leisurely stroll. Turns out no one else can finish it. There we go, you got a few more finishes now, but not this guy. This guy is struggling. Oh no. I feel bad for him a little bit. Come on, you can make it, mate. Still a few slots. You're out of time. Do a timeout. Wow. Oh, I like that costume. That guy's like dressed like a giant soda can. On my last account, I did have more elaborate costumes. Sadly, I have nothing at the minute apart from some basic colours and some choker-style cuffs. See what's next. Let's see what's next. No, not this again. Oh, I'm immediately. I've put so much pressure on myself because I know that I did badly at this last time. Oh, I'm in my head. I'm not in the zone here at all. I'm feeling pretty bad about this. Let's see. Let's try and do better than last time. Let's class that as a win. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just can't get the timing on these things at all. I got that one. And that one. Okay. We're back in business. We're back in it. No. 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 I'm really glad I got my camera turned off for this stream. Because if you could see me, you would see that I am furious! Ah! Well, Fall Guys is still Fall Guys, guys. It's free to play now. You can check it out at your leisure on a number of different platforms. It's still quite fun, as long as you don't get trapped on the swiveler and knocked off. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on a future Etch Play video. Take care! Bye!
And welcome back. Thank you, Adam, for throwing yourself at Fall Guys. It's always good to see Adam making himself mad while playing a game. And now I am joined by the wonderful Tyre. Tyre, how are we doing?
I am doing well. Oh, I wasn't ready for that. I greatly enjoyed that video. So I apologise, Adam, if you did hear me laughing throughout, because I was not muted. Whoops.
I enjoyed the little teeters coming over. And how good was Josh?
Oh, so good. It's always amazing when we get someone who just really knows their stuff and is so passionate about what they do and so open to sharing that with us. So yeah, thank you, Josh. That was really cool.
Yeah, that's great. And I saw you in the chat trying to remember what you said when I asked you your interview who your heroes. I actually think you said Victoria Tran as well. So,
she is an inspiration. Like I'm not joking. Like definitely. I don't know who I'll say now. To be honest, probably still Victoria Tran.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right, should we look at some news, perhaps?
Let's do it.
So yeah, first up we have got. A few weeks back we heard the MetaQuest 2 was getting a price increase, and at the time, you and I, Ty, a couple of weeks ago on the show, we discussed whether we thought this would be reflected on any other platforms. Well, today, Sony have confirmed they are increasing the recommended retail price of the PS5 across select markets, including Europe, the UK, Japan, China, Australia, Mexico, and Canada. So basically not the US. Interesting. So, yeah, in a post on the PlayStation blog by President and CEO Jim Ryan, they explain the increase is a result of high global inflation rates and adverse currency trends that's impacting consumers. The Blu-ray disc PS5 recommended retail price in the UK is increasing from £449 to £479, so an extra 30 quid if you were on the fence about getting yourself a PlayStation. I think this is going to roll out in about 3 weeks' time, I believe, so you might want to get on that now. We discussed at the time how difficult it is to execute a price increase. As Jim himself highlights, the current economic conditions have put pressure on consumers. So from a consumer perspective, a price increase isn't exactly ideal. We've not heard anything from other console giants, Xbox and Nintendo, who are no doubt deliberating their next move because they will all be equally as affected by the economic conditions. but they're also not in the dominant position that PlayStation perhaps is in that market. So this could be an opportunity to swing the balance as we start the approach towards the festive season. Microsoft certainly a big enough company to sort of ride out the wave, and we've seen a lot of investment into things like Game Pass and the many studio acquisitions we talk about on the show all the time. Potentially, this could be an opportunity for them to push a big campaign around keeping our prices the same and maybe try and close some of that ground. Tyre, if you were Phil Spencer, what would you be thinking right now? Would you be going for the quick win? Oh, they've done it, so we can get away with it? Or would you be thinking, actually, this is our chance to claw a bit of momentum back?
Good question. I don't know. I think I would take the risk and see if this could be kind of a differentiating factor, especially with all this other stuff that's going on. The Games Pass, the free, not free, sorry. Oh no, free cloud. I think Games Pass has. They have quite a lot of things that are making them look preferable maybe for users. So this might be another thing that could just really make a difference. But at the same time, if it is, an issue with inflation, we just don't know, right? Because businesses are there to make money. And if that's not happening the way they want, then I can see how they could follow suit. I guess I'm glad that I'm not a console player, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, your PC price is not as perhaps hot a topic because they're always all over the place anyway.
They're always like, if you want a good PC, you're going to be paying above $1,000 anyway. So I guess sucks to be us.
That is true. Knights of the Old Republic, Tyre. That's a favourite of yours. Any news there?
There are some news there. So bittersweet, bitter that actually I didn't even realize that people thought that the remake was dead. But apparently it's not dead, but it is switching studios. So in a previous show, we discussed the turmoil behind the scenes at Aspyr, who were working on a remake of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. If I'm on that show, that is going to be really embarrassing. I can't remember it. After some high-profile staff departures, rumours of development being way off schedule, it seemed that the project was dead in the water, put on pause after intense scrutiny from financial investors. However, this week, Bloomberg are reporting that the remake lives on and is now being developed by Saber Interactive. Both companies are part of the Embracer Group. Embracer said that it is not expecting any material delays due to the transition, but the game, announced during a PlayStation event last year, does not have a public release date and will likely take at least 2 more years to finish, according to unnamed sources familiar with development on the project. Adam says I was on the show that week, so that's hilarious. There's too many news, Adam, okay? Like, for some of it to come in, something has to fall out.
I'm with you on that one. Adam's the only one that retains the index of all the news items we've ever talked about. But we get through it.
Get through it. I mean, I'm just really excited with the remake. I don't mind that it's going to take longer. I'm glad it's not being shelved. And I think fans of the game hopefully will feel quite similarly to me. Because it is such a great IP, such a great franchise, such a great game. I would really like to play that one day. So yeah, fingers crossed this is going to be the thing that gets it to our hands.
And maybe that's one of the beauty of these mega organizations like Embracer picking up these studios have got the support then to see these projects through. So go Saber Interactive and keep propping them up, Embracer. We're happy to let everybody be acquired if it means our favourite games make it to the light of day.
Everyone's being embraced. It's just the future.
Absolutely. Switching back to Sony again, you may have seen this story already this week because it made the mainstream news, but a lawsuit was filed against Sony last week accusing the PlayStation maker of overcharging players, developers and publishers. According to Alex Neil, who filed the suit with the Competition Appeal Tribunal here in the UK, Sony is in breach of competition law by abusing its market power, producing unfair terms and conditions on game developers and publishers, which in turn has forced prices up for players. A significant part of the filing is about the PlayStation Store, which is the only way to buy digital games on PlayStation consoles and allows Sony to take a 30% cut of all purchases. It's the same 30% cut that both Apple and Google have been criticised for taking in recent years on their stores, and the same cut that spurred the famous legal battle between Epic and Apple, which you might remember us reporting extensively on the show in the past. The filing against Sony suggests that consumers that have purchased anything via the store since August 2016 are potentially entitled to compensation, which could reach up to a reported £5 billion. If you're sat there wondering about Xbox, yes, they take a 30% cut too. It is thought perhaps this suit, if successful, would force Microsoft to reevaluate their cut too, or face future lawsuits of their own. Of course, we're not legal experts, but like with the Apple versus Epic trial, the crux of this appears to be whether the PlayStation consoles should be an open platform and therefore could or arguably should be forced to allow competition, or whether Sony has every right to keep the entire PlayStation market to themselves and set whatever price they want. Over in the States, in that Epic trial, the judge ruled mostly in Apple's favour and allowed them to keep control over payments on iOS, so we'd probably expect a similar outcome here. Yes, we did report extensively on this. The Apple Epic lawsuit went on for a long time, and yeah, whilst we like to keep our fingers on the pulse, it's much more interesting to stay on the exciting games news, I think. And any skin in the game? You said you're not a console player, so largely unaffects you, Tyre.
No, it doesn't really affect me. And to be fair, I'm not going to pretend to understand the intricacies of this kind of thing. But it is interesting that, it's the kind of stuff that big companies play around with. And, like you said, the Apple and Epic, it feels like there could be change in the future depending on the outcome of this. So I think we'll definitely keep an eye on it and see what is going to happen. But yeah, I mean, 5 billion, I can't even imagine that number. So
yeah, it's I guess that's kind of something with all this consolidation and bigger companies that own everything else. You're going to get bigger and bigger legal battles in these kind of instances. So yeah, crazy times.
Indeed.
And in more exciting things though, what's been going on this week?
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe Gamescom happened this week. Oh, it was very exciting. We watched all together with the team on Tuesday, supporting some of our clients. That was lots of fun. But yes, Gamescom is back after a 2-year in-person absence caused by the pandemic. The event has returned in person. Held in Cologne, Germany, the show floor is open to the public, who will get an opportunity to play new unreleased games. Meanwhile, the opening night live show and live stream revealed dozens of trailers for upcoming titles. Among them were trailers for Dead Island 2, Hogwarts Legacy, The Callisto Protocol, and Darktide. We also got a look at the next Destiny 2 expansion, known as Lightfall, and a new PlayStation 5 controller called the DualSense Edge, which offers customizable controls. In addition to all of that, we also got reveals of entirely new games such as Tortuga, A Pirate's Tale, Moonbreaker, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which was quite interesting. Also, Hideo Kojima is starting a podcast on Spotify, and there's a new Souls-like inspired by Pinocchio, which looks really good. The Open Night live stream was hosted by the Game Awards, who also took the opportunity to reveal that they will be returning on December 8th this year. They've also announced a new award category, Best Adaptation, which will reward creative work that authentically adapts video game intellectual property to other popular media, including, but not limited to, theatrical movies, streaming shows, podcasts, novels, and comic books. So yeah, lots of excitement this week. Did you enjoy the Open Night Live, Dan?
I did. I thought it was. I enjoyed that there's these couple of curveballs. It wasn't just games. I mean, they're weird, but just like Kojima is doing a podcast on Spotify. Okay, that's a new one, and even the segment with Mini, like the Pokemon Mini. I don't think any of us had that down as something that was going to be on stage this time. But also exciting news about the this adaptation, best adaptation category being added to the Game Awards, and we were getting excited earlier to hear the Horizon Zero Dawn franchise that's coming to Netflix. They've revealed that is being produced, and the name of the chap escapes me, but the guy who did the Umbrella Academy, which I absolutely loved, and I absolutely love Horizon Zero Dawn, so that's really exciting. And we've also discussed the Last of Us TV series that's coming soon. So all of these adaptations and kind of transmedia storytelling opportunities being recognised, I think that's a really interesting development for the Game Awards. How about you? Any highlights from Gamescom?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, do you know what? It was just really fun to hang out with the team, work on some stuff, see our clients get recognition, which is always nice. In terms of games, I'm definitely very, even though I probably won't play it because I'm terrible at games, and anything Souls-like is going to probably kill my soul. Already. Lies of P. Do you know what? In my head, I was like, is it Life of Pi? It's not Life of Pi. Lies of P looks amazing.
Pinocchio,
there we go. And I'm also very intrigued by, just embarrassing, is it Word Song? Weird Song? I'm not sure how you say that. But yeah, the game that's being where the team is made up of people from Bethesda and Obsidian and Bioware, because that just sounds like a really great time to me. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And do you know what? It's just nice to have games to look at, even if they're not up your street. I think it's just why we enjoy doing things like this and being part of the industry, because it's just it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And that Dead Island 2 trailer, that was very good. I thought, really enjoyed that.
Yes.
And a really nice trailer and gameplay, and it's coming out not too far away. I think they've done a good job on that, and a really nice website as well.
Yes, I think so too.
Excellent. Well, that's it for the news and the show this week. Tyre, thank you. Josh, thank you. Adam, thanks for playing Fall Guys. Thank everybody who's in the chat and come along. If you haven't already, hit the follow button and get notified when we stream this every week. This is episode 94. So we've done 94. We're on the road to 100 of these. You're not going to want to miss the culmination of 100 episodes of the Etch Play Weekly Live show. And with that, I hope everybody enjoys their weekends, and we will see you next week.
Cool. See you later. Bye. Adam just made me nearly laugh very badly on the show.
That Adam.